Hey y'all, welcome back. I am so thankful that you are here with me as we do a little Bible talk. And if this is your first time here, thank you for taking the time to stop by. And I hope that you would consider joining our community and subscribing so that you are notified every time I release a new video. And if you don't mind, like and share. I'm just so happy that each and every one of y'all are here today. So let's get into this. I want to talk a little bit about Daniel today and his determination to follow God and do what was right in the eyes of God. So, has anybody ever been in a situation where you feel like no matter how hard you try to do what's right, it seems like everything keeps getting thrown at you that's not fun? Try so hard to be obedient to God and do what's right. And it seems like every time you turn around, there's something that you weren't expecting or planning for. There's just something that has come up. And you're like, what am I supposed to do? God, just show me, what am I supposed to do? And you have those moments of questioning. Is this the right path for me? Is this what I really need to be doing? Because this seems a lot harder than what I was doing before. So let's take a look at what Daniel went through. Now, just so you know, we're not going to get through the whole chapter of Daniel. I just want to share a little bit of Daniel's story with y'all today because I know those questions can come up. And it's not a horrible thing that those questions come up, like, what am I doing wrong? Or am I doing something wrong? Or why isn't this working out? I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to be pleasing to God. Why isn't this working out? I've done everything I thought I was supposed to do, and now this is happening. So let's dive into the book of Daniel here a little bit. King Nebuchadnezzar had come in and he had taken over Judah. And he's taken some of the people from Judah with him to Babylon. And of the people he has taken, there are 4 men. Daniel is one of those 4. The other is Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael. Now, these 4 young men, now Daniel had already decided that he was not going to defile himself with what the king was going to provide, because the king was going to provide daily portions of food and wine, like delicacies. He was going to be training them and educating them so that they would be able to serve him. But he decided he was not going to partake in any of the food or wine that was provided. So he called the head eunuch and tells him, I'm not going to defile myself, so I'll just be eating vegetables and drinking water. Well, then he's like, we can't do that because then you will look sick and weak, and then that would fall back on me. So then Daniel says, okay, well, let's do a trial. I'm paraphrasing. This isn't exactly how it is in the Bible, but let's do a trial. We'll go 10 days and we'll see what happens after those 10 days. So after those 10 days, they go in to be checked, examined, and he sees that these young men look healthier and stronger than those who were partaking of the delicacies of the king. So they continue on with their vegetables and water. And this is where you hear about the Daniel fast. Okay, so After this is done, they stood their ground by not defiling themselves. These four young men were given knowledge and skill in all literature and wisdom, and Daniel was given understanding of dreams and visions. Now, among all the people, there were no others like these four young men. Okay, so then Nebuchadnezzar has a dream, and this dream, it troubles him. And then he's worried, and he's calling in for all of these sorcerers, magicians, astrologers, the Chaldeans to come in and explain this dream that he has had. And none of them can explain the dream that he has had to him. They can't interpret his dream. And they tell him that there is nobody that would be able to interpret this dream that he has had. The king then becomes very upset, and he gives the command to have all the wise men of Babylon destroyed. They go out to find Daniel and his friends so that they can kill them. Daniel asks, "Why are you coming to kill us?" And it's explained to him what has happened. So Daniel goes into the king and he asks him for time. Just give me some time that I might be able to interpret your dream for you. Then he goes back to his friends and he asks his friends to pray, seek God, that he will be able to interpret this dream for King Nebuchadnezzar. So he goes back into King Nebuchadnezzar, and Daniel explains his dream to him. And he explains that it's not from me. Daniel saying, "This is not from me. This is from God." And he goes on to explain or give the interpretation of the dream to King Nebuchadnezzar. The king is so happy that someone was able to tell him his dream that he falls down before Daniel, and then they're all promoted. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego have ruling over the affairs of the province of Babylon, but Daniel sat in the gate of the king. So he's right there in proximity to the king now. So then Nebuchadnezzar goes and has a image of gold prepared, statue prepared. And all the people are told that when you hear the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery and symphony, you fall down and you worship the gold image. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. Well, of course, we know that Daniel and his friends, they're dedicated to God. So here they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they have been put into positions. God has placed them in higher positions. And now we know that they are not going to go against God and bow down before this golden image or statue. So, of course, when the sound of music is heard, they don't bow down and worship. So they disobey the king. And it gets back to the king that these three men have disobeyed him and do not bow down to the image. So that is disrespectful to the king. You know, for him, they have disrespected him by disobeying him because they don't serve his God. They serve the one true God. Okay, so here comes one of those moments where you're doing everything you're supposed to do. You think you're doing everything right and being obedient. And then what happens? So these men, they didn't bow down to worship another God. They stand firm on what they believe. They're not wavering. And then what happens? The king says, you are going to be thrown into the fiery furnace. Then who is going to deliver you then? And they respond with, we don't really have to answer you, but our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from you. But if not, let it be known to you that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the gold image you have set up. So even when they've done everything they're supposed to do, they've been obedient to God. Now they have this trial. They're going to be thrown into a fiery furnace. And even in that moment, they still know that God is with them. He will save them, protect them. And if He does not deliver them from the furnace, they still will not serve His gods or worship the gold image. So now this infuriates the king. He's the king. You do what he says, and that's all there is to it. And they didn't do anything. And it's almost like they kind of talked back to him, like that he was trying to scare them by saying, who's this God that's going to deliver you? And rather than be scared and say, okay, sorry, we apologize, we'll worship your image, they come back with, our God is able to. Our God can. But even if he doesn't, we still would not worship your gods or serve your gods or worship the gold image you've set up. Now the king's all hot, like he's hot. Now he wants them thrown into the furnace like quickly. And he tells them heat that thing 7 times more than it usually is. The flames are so hot that the guards who go to throw them into the furnace, they are killed by the fire. Now the 3 young men are in the fiery furnace, and the king is shocked that there are now 4 men loose walking around in this fire. They are not hurt at all. And he recognizes that the 4th is like the Son of God. So the king was like, I'm going to show you. I'm going to throw you into this fiery furnace. He's already so mad. He heats it up 7 times where it usually is. He's going to throw these men in, and he's going to see them die, perish, because of how they responded to him. But in fact, God was with them in the fire, and even the king saw him and acknowledged that it looked like the Son of God. As the king then approaches the furnace, he says to the young men, come out and come here. He speaks to the people and says, these men's bodies were in the fire, and the fire had no power. The hair of their head was not singed, nor were their garments affected, and the smell of fire was not on them. They're in this fire, and not even the smell of the fire touched them. Now the king is understanding who the God is that they serve, and he acknowledges him. And he says, blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his angel and delivered his servants. Okay, so far, first, these people loved God, worshiped God, they were taken from their homes, brought to a foreign land. In that foreign land, they are going through training so that they might be able to serve the king. They do that. They make it through. God gives them wisdom and understanding and skill for all the literature. And then Daniel has this understanding of visions and dreams. So now he has interpreted the king's dream that he had that caused him such distress. So we have this up and down of doing something good and then something happens. Something good, something bad. So they worship God, then they're taken from their land and they're having to go through all this training. Then something good happens and Daniel interprets the king's dream and then they're promoted. And then something bad happens. The three young men refuse to worship an image of gold, so then they're thrown into the fiery furnace. Then something good happens. They are delivered from that fiery furnace, and the king acknowledges their God. Throughout this, even when the bad things happen, because when they were taken from their land, they could have easily just said, well, we worship God, we've done everything we're supposed to do, and now here we are going to be taken from our land into this foreign land. And now we have to go through this training and this education process. And then something good happens, but then something bad happens. Oh, great. We do what we're supposed to do. We don't bow down to the golden image or foreign gods, and now we're going to be thrown into a fiery furnace to die. No, they stay focused on God, even through the waiting. Even though those three young men knew not worshiping that image could lead to their death, they stood their ground on what they believed. And when it came to the consequences of their choices, them choosing not to, and then the consequences dying, they still stood firm on who their God was, knowing that He could deliver them. And He did. So then Nebuchadnezzar has another dream. This dream also brings him unrest and distress, and he needs to know what it means. So then Daniel comes in and explains the second dream to him. And this explanation is basically that the king has set himself up. He's let pride come in, and God is the one who put him in the position that he's in. God is the one that controls all this, but he has made himself lifted up and prideful, like he's in control of everything. So he's going to lose that control. So then his son comes in and takes his position. They bring the gold and silver that was removed from the temple in Jerusalem, and they began to use them, drink out of them and stuff. Then King Belshazzar sees the finger of a man writing on the wall. And I'm sure this freaked him out. So now he is confused and distressed over this because he doesn't understand the writing. So they try to get men in to read this writing and interpret it for him, and they can't. So then the queen comes in and she remembers Daniel. So they go, they get Daniel. Daniel comes in and explains the writing on the wall. And summarized, he explains that you saw what happened to your father, yet you have not humbled your heart. Even though you knew everything that your father went through and what happened with him because of the way he acted and where his heart was. And so I'm not going to try to interpret that because I don't know how you say that. But it does mean that there's going to be division of kingdom between the Medes and the Persians. And then that night, he was slain. Then Darius, the Mede, received the kingdom. And then when Darius is set over the kingdom, he assigns 120 satraps to be over the whole kingdom, and Daniel is one of those. And the king had given thought to setting him over the whole realm. And I'm sure there were some people that heard this and they were not pleased with that fact because he was not one of them. You know, he was brought in. He came from Judah. So some of the governors and satraps wanted to find a way to bring charges against Daniel, but he was faithful. And so they knew that the only way that they could get him in trouble was when it came to his faith, when it came to the law of God. So they devised a plan to get Daniel, to get rid of him. They go to the king and say there should be a decree that whoever worships or petitions any god or man for 30 days except you shall be cast in the den of lions, because they know that Daniel prays every day. So this is how they're going to get him, because they know he prays every day. The king, I don't think, understands this. Like, he's not really paying attention to the fact that Daniel prays every day. And this is going to really affect Daniel. It's just like, okay, well, this puts me, people little conceited, prideful. So he's like, okay, yeah, nobody needs to worship anybody else but me for 30 days. Now, Daniel knows that this decree has been signed in. So he knows that now this is a law. But goes to the upper room and prays. He prays 3 times a day. These men come together and they find Daniel praying to God, and they go to the king and they tell him, Daniel, he shows no regard, he has no respect for you or for the law you just signed. He prays or makes petition 3 times a day. Now the king hears this and he is displeased. He's not happy about this because now he understands the effects, the consequences of him signing that decree. And he was not happy with himself, and he was trying to think of a way to get Daniel out of this. But there's nothing he could do because he signed the decree, he signed the law. So Daniel was going to go be placed into the lion's den. King Darius says to Daniel, your God, whom you serve continuously, not just when it's good, but continuously, he will deliver you. So even the king is like, your God is mighty and he will deliver you. So then they seal up the den, and throughout the night, King Darius is fasting. And the next morning, like first thing in the morning, he gets up, he goes to the den, removes the cover or the stone. He cries out to Daniel. Daniel answers, my God sent his angel and shut the lion's mouth so that they have not hurt me, because I was found innocent before him. Now the king's happy. They bring Daniel up out of the den, and those men who try to kill Daniel by putting something in place that they knew he was not going to abide by. They knew that he was not going to not worship God. Those men, their wives and their children were placed in the lion's den and they were killed. And the king makes another decree that every dominion of the kingdom must tremble and fear before the God of Daniel. So there could have been times in these four young men's situations, because we're not even through the book of Daniel yet, but just right here, there could have been times that bad things happened and they could have just been like, well, what did I do wrong? What didn't I do right? What did I mess up? Geez, nothing's working out right. I mean, they had times where they could have just been so frustrated and down on themselves and questioning what they did wrong or what they didn't do at all. But instead, they focused on God. And I believe that's what we need to do today. And I know there's just so much going on around us in this world that sometimes it seems hard to stay focused on God. But we need to be diligent about that. And when we're going through a low valley, don't get upset and don't question why isn't this working out? Why isn't that happening? Go to God and ask Him, God, why did this happen? What do you want me to do? But stay focused on Him. Don't get upset and lose or reject that relationship just because it's not going the way you want it to go. Because when those boys were taken from their home, they could have said, we've done everything right, and here we are being taken from our home. So now we're just going to fall in line and do what they're asking us to do or telling us to do. We're just going to do it because this is where we are now. So we'll just fall in line. No, they stayed strong in their belief in trusting God. And then when they were promoted to different positions and then they were put in another test where they could have said, oh, forget it. Yeah, we will do whatever you want us to do because we do not want to go to the fiery furnace. You know, that was their option. Stop doing this or die. And they could have said, oh, well, that doesn't sound fun. I don't want to do that. So I'll just kind of backtrack a little bit and I won't 100% do what they're doing over here, but I won't completely go all in for my prayers and stuff like that, because I don't want to go to the fiery furnace. Even in that situation, they said, He is able, He can, but if He don't, I still am not going to serve your God. And I'm not going to worship your gold image. And God delivered them. Daniel had a high position, and everything was great for Daniel and the people until some people got jealous. And when they got jealous about the position that Daniel had or could have had, then they schemed up a plan to take Daniel out. And Daniel could have said, oh, hey, okay, so it's 30 days. I can do that. I can just not do my 3 times a day or only do it once a day for 30 days, not to get caught, busted, because I don't want to end up in the lion's den. No. And even at this point, the king knew who Daniel served and believed that he would deliver him. So rather than getting frustrated and then getting to the point where you just want to give up because you're like, oh my gosh, what am I doing wrong? What's not working? Because it's not going to happen on our time. It happens on God's time. When you're going through those valleys, stay faithful. Stand firm on who God is. Not just when everything is going good. When you have those times where you can say, okay, well, this isn't working. I give up. I've tried it and it didn't work. So I give up because, yeah, There's times I've seen people that are not followers of Christ, and they are very judgmental against it and mock it. And it seems like everything just goes so perfect for them. And then here I am struggling. And I'm like, God, I don't understand. But don't get yourself in that position to where you're like, okay, well, this just isn't working. I've tried it for 5 years and it has yet to work. Because you can get on that path. You can be on that path for 2 months and then you are dealing with consequences of that path, negative consequences. So even in those valleys, stay focused on God because He is there. He is with you. Don't give up just because you've been doing it for a few years or some time and it doesn't look like anything's changing. Keep moving forward. Dig in deeper. Don't give up because think about everything that God has done for you already. If you sit and think about everything that God has done for you already, you may not have even noticed the things. But if you take the time and think about it, you can come up with so many times God has been there and you didn't even realize it. So just because this big thing that you're wanting right now hasn't happened doesn't mean it won't happen. Maybe you need to be prepared. Maybe you need to grow a little more, mature a little more. Maybe there's something that you need to learn. I understand that after you've been in it and you're just like, man, I don't understand how those thoughts can come in and you're like, man, I'm trying, but it's not working. And then you're like, what do I need to do? I need to do something. I've got to figure something out because that I can get you in trouble, put you in a place you don't need to be because you're trying to push the timeline along. Or you're like, I've been on this path and this path has not taken me where I think it should be taking me. It's not gotten me where I think I should be by now. I'm going to try a different path. Don't let the enemy come in and tell you that what you're doing isn't working. So just move on to something else because it takes time. So I hope this time together has been encouraging, that whatever it is that you're going through, you're not alone. Whatever it is that you are feeling or the thoughts you're having, I'm sure there is somebody else that is either in the same boat or has been in that boat. So just trust that even through the valleys, God is with you. And even when you can't see what's happening, God sees it and He has already prepared it. And now He is just working in you to bring you through to that place. Just like what we read, God had already prepared where He wanted these young men to be. And they just had to go through some things to get there. And like I said, this isn't even all of Daniel, but I just wanted to share that. It doesn't matter where you are. Know that God loves you and He is with you. And we just need to stay focused on Him. Don't give in because everybody else is giving in and everybody else is doing it. Don't give in because you feel the pressure of others to fit in. Don't concede because you think everybody else is judging you or they're going to mock you or make fun of you because you're not doing what they're doing. You're different. Don't concede so that you don't ruffle feathers. But before you ruffle feathers, make sure it's from God and you're not just being defiant. I hope everyone has a great day. I'm going to end it there before I go off and start talking about something else. So, everybody have a wonderful day, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.